You're listening to the legendary podcaster, the one, the only, T-Jam D. Your personal favorite, and the show you've been waiting for. Probably Offensive.
Welcome to Probably Offensive. Welcome to the show. I am your host, Anthony Scott Dover. And I usually like to start the show off here as of late with COVID-19 updates, which I will do because it's going to be brief, and we've got a few other things to talk about. Riots in the streets. The army's been called in some cities. Over 40 million unemployed. Over 100,000 dead. We went past the 100,000 threshold last week. And that was only briefly talked about in the news because we had another incident where a black man was murdered by the cops. George Floyd in Minneapolis, Minnesota. George Floyd was murdered. He was apprehended, handcuffed, laid on the ground, and the cop put his knee. A police officer named Derek Chauvin, who's been fired and charged with murder. So he's scheduled to stand trial. But he put his knee on the back of George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes. This guy sat there for 9 minutes with people begging him to get off, let this guy breathe. He said he couldn't breathe more than once. He called out to his mother, and then he died on the street with a police officer's knee on the back of his neck. And from what's been reported, all the guy did was try to spend phony $10 bill. It was a counterfeit $10 bill, and he tried to spend it. I guess the clerk in the store knew that the $10 bill was phony, called the cops, and they came to get George. But for whatever reason, they decided to kill him. And, the cops handcuffed him, put him on the street, and just sat there. I don't know why. The guys would just sit there with their, just holding the guy down. Even if they hadn't killed him, it seemed senseless. He wasn't as resisting arrests, wasn't doing anything but just laying there. They said he was drunk, actually. I don't know what made him feel like he could spend a counterfeit $10 bill. I don't know if that's even true or not, but it's not a reason to kill someone. So a lot of people who like to defend the police will be like, yeah, but if this guy if he wasn't resisting, he wouldn't have, they wouldn't have had to use force. Listen, whatever he was doing, it wasn't a reason to kill him. Okay. And all the video that they showed online, it was not a reason for the police to hold him down with the knee on his neck so that he could not breathe until that man was dead. And so we are well over 1.5 million cases of COVID-19. But no one is talking about it right now because all the protests that are going on in the streets. And like I said, with these riots going on and over 100,000 dead, I hope President Trump is finished making America great again, because I don't think we can stand any more of it. But for the last few days, all it's been in the news on TV is riots. That's all we've seen is every news channel you go to, it's riots in every city, every major city across America. People are rioting because of the murder of one George Floyd. So right now they have a curfew on, and they're having a hard time getting the protesters off the street, which in my opinion, they should just leave them there. The guys will they're human beings. They'll get tired and go home. They're not going to just riot forever. Just give them a few hours to get out what they want to say, make a protest. See, the cops make it worse because they arrive on the scene with these rubber bullets, tear gas, mace, and their billy clubs. They start firing rubber bullets at people, start throwing tear gas into the crowds. You know, they all get, the cops all get in bunches. They get their shields up there and they start shoving people, knocking people down, tasing people. The cops still don't get it. Okay, this is what started the riots in the first place, is you guys acting like fools. You're sitting there acting like you got to take charge of a situation when all you have to do is let it happen. Don't let nobody loot or burn anything down. But if people want to come out on the street and march around for a few hours and chant, let them do it. Okay? You don't need to billy club anybody. You don't need to fire rubber bullets at anybody. And you certainly don't need to break anybody's car window out and tase them. There's been more officers, and I didn't get the name of these officers. There's been more officers who've been fired because of their behavior at the protests in Atlanta. They were telling the protesters that it was past curfew. This was yesterday. Today's Sunday. On Monday, it will be the first day of June. But anyway, today is Sunday. So I do believe it was Saturday when this happened, but two people got in their cars and was driving off, and the cops busted their windows, tased them, and pulled them out of the car for no reason. These two didn't do anything. They just got aggression showed to them by the police for no reason. And that is the problem. And when you see that the cops still don't get it, that means things are going to get worse. Things are going to get worse before they get better, because you got this whole thing started from a cop murdering someone, and then the protest starts and the cops come out in full force and start acting like fools again, pushing and shoving, tasing people for no reason, shooting people with rubber bullets. This is something you're supposed to do when things get out of hand. Like in Minneapolis, things were out of hand. There's fires and looting and all kind of crazy stuff happening. But a lot of these places, people are just sort of walking around with their signs and chanting, no justice, no peace. And, you got CNN crews down there. Even CNN crews are getting arrested for no reason. So the police don't mind going above and beyond the call of duty and arresting people for no reason. And that is the issue. They need to stop. They got to stop it. They have to stop it, or things are just going to get worse. So these two police officers who broke someone's windows and tased him and pulled him out of a car. It was a young guy, a college student, and a girl. Both adults, I think, not kids, but college students. But they had the windows busted in their car, and the police tased them and then pulled them out, and I think they zip tied them and detained them for a little while. But why bust the guy's windows? Why on earth do you need to bust someone's windows just so you can have to let them go in 2 hours? I mean, that don't make any sense. Police officers using excessive force for no reason. Okay, that's the problem. And everybody who is complaining about these protests, like all this looting and catching buildings on fire, this ain't no... Listen, this is what happens. I don't agree with it, but this is what happens when people protest. Okay? Yes, no, you're right. Looting and burning of buildings is wrong. It's a terrible thing. It's stupid, actually. But this is what happens when people protest. This kind of thing is what you can expect from massive protest. And you had your choice of a protest, okay? If you would have just paid attention to the reason that Colin Kaepernick protested, we wouldn't be here right now. But everybody wanted to throw a fit about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee. That is what is called a peaceful protest. The guy took a knee during the national anthem, and everyone threw a fit and acted like, oh, this son of a bitch needs to be fired. No, he doesn't. He's trying to make a point. Pay attention to what the point he's trying to make. What he's trying to get across is the issue here, folks. It's for peaceful protest. Him taking a knee is not hurting anyone. He's not smashing anyone's windows or burning anything. All he's doing is saying this police brutality is excessive and it needs to stop. You didn't want to listen to that. You wanted to ignore the point, the reason he was taking a knee, and vilify him, make him the bad guy. And now you have this. Millions of people protesting across the country. You say, oh, that wasn't no million of people. I bet you it was over 1 million people if you count up all the different cities with protesters. I mean, it was D.C. and Philadelphia, Rochester, New York, and Cleveland, Ohio, Columbus, Chicago, Atlanta, L.A., Minneapolis, where it started. Many places where there were, thousands of people out protesting. Even here in Springfield, Ohio, there was a protest. I didn't attend it myself, but I'm not one to march around down in the street and have, police trying to have a reason to club me over the head or shoot me with rubber bullets. That's not me. That's not how I get down. I mean, I believe in the cause, but I got a 6-year-old daughter. I'm not taking her to no protest that could turn dangerous any second. I'm certainly not paying a babysitter so I can go get